Hi everyone, Assassin Gamer here and welcome to the upload. Today we're starting episode 8 of Space Engineers, the campaign Never Surrender Without Quality of Life mods. Now, off camera I did do a little bit of work, mainly just adding in 2 new solar arrays and 2 new wind turbine towers, as well as giving a new name to our automated mining drone. Because a few episodes back, prior to the file corruption, I did receive a name suggestion. Thus, as this is technically our second variation of automated mining drones, I dubbed this the Minesweeper 2.0. So thank you very much for that name suggestion. I look forward to hearing more of them in the future. So, what is on the agenda for today? Well, my original plan was to deal with this roof and build my living quarters, my command center, and a landing pad for my atmospherics. But unfortunately, I am going to have to put that on hold because we have a major problem that needs to be resolved quite urgently. And that problem being is we are rapidly running out of power because of our single Minesweeper 2.0. So we need to address that today. Now, the easy and, to be quite blunt, boring solution would be to build a bunch of wind turbines all over the roof and be done with it. But in all honesty, I do not want my base to be absolutely littered with the wind turbines. Now, I do plan to make more of the solar arrays, but in all honesty, both the solar arrays and the wind turbines have their pros and cons. So the pros for the wind turbines is that they can run 24/7. The downside is that it is heavily affected by the weather conditions, both in a good way and in a bad way. Because some weather conditions makes them spin faster, producing more power, and there are some where it does the opposite and produce less power. In regards to the solar arrays, while yes, they do produce more power, but we can only gain that power for 1 real world hour. And also, they are heavily affected by the weather conditions in a negative way. So, we need a more stable power source, and for us, that is going to be our hydrogen engines. Which means this room needs to get up and running more frequently. The only problem here is that we have no ice, and the amount of ice needed to run this constantly is ridiculous to be mined by hand. So the solution is to simply build another Minesweeper 2.0, but I do not want to be going backwards and forwards building it by hand, especially if we're going to be building a bunch of them in the future. So we need to build my first ever printer. Now the question is, where am I going to put it? That is actually the ultimate question of the day, I think. Because I've more or less kind of zoned out how I'm going to have my base. So pretty much this section here is reserved for any industrial expansion. And this area here is reserved for any storage expansion I need to do. And all the way over here is reserved for my automated cargo drones that I'll have in the future. And all of this area is reserved for my flight paths. And pretty much all over here is reserved for my space endeavors. So, well, taking into consideration the size of our 2.0 version, we don't really need much space, so let's just build it here. So first thing we need to do is find our center point. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That means our center point is right here. Alright, so what are some of the things we need to make this printer? Well, we're going to need a welder because how else are we going to build anything? And we also need a projector to tell the welders what to actually make. And then we need pistons. Then we need our conveyors, as well as a rotor. And last but not least, we need buttons. I think I'll go with this one because, well, it's new, so why not? Alright. And I think that's everything we need at the moment. Alright, so we need to make a decision here because we have two options. Option one is to have our projector static here and then build our arms here and then put the welders here. That's option one. Option two would be to have the welders here and then have the projector over here on the pistons. Well, taking into consideration that we got essentially a bomb on the other side of the wall here, let's put our welders against this wall just so we have a means of preventing any unfortunate accidents. Because if something weird happens, it will have to go through the welders first, then the wall before hitting the tanks, blowing my base sky high. Or at least a good portion of it sky high. So what we'll do is we'll curve it up like that and then put a T-junction there. Alright, so it's 3 wide by 2 wide. So I think a welding wall of 3 high and 5 wide will be more than enough. We'll put you there and put you there. And then all I need to do is place my welders like so. Alright, so this probably is overkill, but better to have the extra welders just in case. Actually, if we're making a printer, we actually need to make sure we have the components needed to make everything. So let's very quickly adjust our auto crafting quota list. So we'll bump this up. You know what? We're basically going to bump everything up. So let's hit that fast forward button real quick. Alright, that should do. Now the only thing I'm worried about is how is our materials? Because I know we're definitely fine on the iron department, but what about the cobalt, nickel, and silicon? We might be okay. Hopefully. I guess time will tell on that front. Alright. So, how many pistons do we want to go with? So, fully extended, it's 10 meters. So, let's go with 3. Just so we have a little extra length in case we ever need it. Do I think we're going to need it? Honestly speaking, I am skeptical on that, but better to have the extra length and not need it compared to needing it and not having it. So now, all I've got to do is put a rotor here, get rid of the large head, and then lock and add the small head. Now, the reason why I'm adding a small head and not just slapping on a projector is because, according to the instruction manual that I'm currently reading, the projector has to be the same grid size as what I am projecting in order to weld it. So, at least if we have a rotor, all we'd have to do is swap out the heads as we need them. Okay, so according to the manual, the 4 lines are indicating the top, and the 2 at the front is indicating that that is the front of the projector. Okay. So the only thing left to place now is our console, like so. And we will place it there. I will be adding a floor here later, but I do still need to add my conveyors underneath. So, with the power of post-editing, I hereby declare that this is now and done. So, what have we got done? So we got our projector there. We got our welders. We got our printer arm. And we also have our console set up with its 3 buttons. So we have a on-off switch for our welders. And we've just got to remember that as of now, when the welders are on, this is essentially a death zone. What do I mean by that? Well, I will be the dummy and be the prime example of what not to do in front of welders. As you can see, we lose health pretty quickly. So, unless you want to have an industrial accident happen, best to just steer clear of them. There we go. Alright, let's turn those off. Now, there's only one thing, well, 2 things really that I need to do. The first one is set the printer arm speed. Now, the problem here is that we cannot have it be too fast, because if it's too fast, like this, as it starts to go out, the welders will not be able to weld everything up to 100% in time before it goes out of range. So, I think a 0.5 0.01 is fast enough to not take forever, but slow enough for everything to weld. Yep, I would say that speed is perfect. So for the buttons, we do have our welders on and off. We have a reverse button for our printer arm and a on-off switch for that printer arm. So that way, once the welding is done, it's not just continuously going back all the way to 30 meters when it's not needed. The only thing left to do now is to set up the projector. Alright, so welders are definitely off. And, boy. Okay. Seems we have to, play around with a few settings, I think. Alright, let's try the roll first. Nope, needs to be the other way. What about this? That's a definitive no. What about the pitch? Okay. Pitch works perfectly. But as we can see over here, it's a little bit low, so need to make it a little bit higher, like so. Warning, projector out of bounds. Okay. That's to be a -4. I guess that meant that we were just too close to the ground. And it looks like it's off center, which it is. Alright. So that means we need to go right there. Okay. Now the only other problem is that the first points for welding is all the way over there and not close enough to our welders. So all we need to do now is bring it forward like so. I think one more. There we go. Yep, perfect. Close enough to be in range, but just far enough that it won't cause any problems. Alright, so just need to build a little bit up. And then build across like so. And we now have ourselves a printer. So let's have a look over here, see what's still needing to be made. Oh boy. We're out of nickel, aren't we? Let's have a look. Yep. We are practically all out. So let's hit the time jump. Actually, you know what? Instead of a time jump, let's go for a leisurely spin in the Eruptrid with the fast forwarding. Okay. Now that we have our nickel and we're now heading back to base, time for us to dock up and get the nickel into the refinery so that the last of these components can be built. And it looks like our little repair bot is doing a decent job on the roof, which is good to see. Alright. Only thing left to do is to tell the refineries to prioritize the nickel. So we need to change a setting in here. Auto crafting, special loadout containers, refinery handling. Here we are. So we'll turn you into a comment and uncomment you. And that should tell the refineries what to prioritize. So let's see if that's worked or not. Not looking promising. Oh, there we go. All right, perfect. Okay, looking good, looking good. The only thing I do have to wait on is the power cells a little bit, just in case. But let's get the first layer started. Oh, that is so satisfying to watch. I mean, it took us ages to build it by hand. And here it's literally seconds. Love it. Okay, looking good, looking good. Okay, we are ready to hit the reverse button. So get our new Minesweeper up and running. Alright, so while we're waiting for that, we need to determine where are we going to park it. Because I don't want to park it here because its main purpose is going to be collecting ice over there. So what we need to do, so our bay is 7 wide with a gap. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gap. Okay, so now that we've determined where our docking bay is, actually, you know what? Let's actually modify our docking area for our drones. So first things first, we'll come over here and simply remove the old flooring. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to lower the floor a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll use our slopes like so, and then put in our half armor blocks like so. Honestly speaking, I think this actually looks better. So that is how we will do all of our drone bays. So we'll just put that here and here. And that makes everything nice and flush. So let's apply it to over here real quick. Okay. The only thing to do now is get a conveyor line sorted and quickly make a connector so we can hook up our new drone. So for here, I'm going to use a T-junction just so I don't have to mess around with it later. And then we just build a couple up like that, put a curve like so, and put our connector there. Alright, so how are we going over here? Looks like we are good to rock and roll. So turn off the welders, turn off the arms. Because now we get to disconnect like so and fly our new Minesweeper to its new home. And it seems I'm going to have to rename this. Alright, so we'll name it the Minesweeper 2.0, but I'm going to put ice at the end just so I know what it's collecting and also so I can kind of differentiate between them. Alright, now the other thing I need is to turn on my auto level script and recompile, run, and it's working as intended. Awesome. So let's get you all docked up so we can hit the recharge button. There we go. So you just need to put the batteries on recharge. And just to, as a stopgap measure to allow those to charge, let's quickly get some batteries built. And when I say we, I mean, let's be lazy and get the repair bot to do it for us. Alright, I think 8 batteries are more than enough. Now, one of the criticisms for space engineers is that the worlds are a bit, I guess the word empty would be the appropriate word. I mean, sure, we can easily change that with having a bunch of drones flying about, basically having things moving. But at the same time, I think we could do more than just that. So what we're going to do is we are going to play around with one of the new blocks that was recently released, and that is the broadcast controller. And in order to use that, we need a event controller. But before I do anything, I need to change the names of these connectors. So we'll name you AMD Bay 4. And as for this one over here, we will rename you as Bay 1. Alright, so first things first, need to get all the parts for the broadcast controller so we can actually build it. There we go. And then what I need is two... Actually, you know what? Let's make it 3 event controllers. So we'll have one there. That will be for bay 1. And then what we'll do is we'll have a 2 gap here. So that will be bay 2, bay 3. This one will be bay 4. And this one will control whether or not our hydrogen power room gets turned on or not. So apparently how this works is that we simply put in a message here, and when a event is triggered, we can tell it what message to send. So what we'll do is we'll have messages 1 and 7B docked, and messages 2 and 8 as undocked. If somebody wants to come up with a different message for them, do let me know in the comments down below, and I'll take it into consideration. Alright, so what we need is when the connector is connected for bay 1, you will play the following message. So for slot 1, that will be for when it's connected, so that's message 1. And for when it's undocked, message 2. And then for this one, essentially the same thing. The only difference is instead of messages 1 and 2, we need message 7 and 8. Okay, so how are we going on our recharge for our ice drone? Let's see. So nearly 60% charged. All right. I guess that's not too bad. So let's quickly get our conveyor line in. But first, I do need to find the center for this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So right there. Because what I need to put here... Wait, that doesn't look right. 1, 2, 3... Okay. So it needs to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we'll place our T-junction there. And let's hit the fast forward button once again. Okay, so it's now fully connected and ready to give me some ice. So let's check on those batteries. About 80%. I'm happy with that. So let's put you onto auto and just check our flight recorder because, yeah, I had a feeling that these were copied over. So we'll just delete all those. And now the only thing I need to do is determine whether or not the script settings have all copied over. Because it definitely seemed to have with the auto level, but what about the PAM script? From the looks of it, I am going to go and say yes. Yep, definitely is. Alright, so batteries are on auto, that's good. So first things first, we need to record path and set home. And then we'll undock. And it looks like our broadcast controller worked. Alright, turn on the AI recorder. And just very slowly go forward a little bit. Alright, we are good here. Alright, I think that's far enough. Honestly, this is really something I should be doing in daylight, not in the night. So, hopefully I got insurance on this Minesweeper because if something bad happens, I want my materials back. Alright, so I'm going to say about here is more than far enough. Yep, perfect. We'll take control back of that. Tell it to stop the recording and also tell it to stop recording the flight path. Okay, so now we just turn off the auto level script so it doesn't interfere with the PAM script. And then we are going to tell it where to mine. Now, this Minesweeper's only purpose is to mine ice. So, let's go 210 by 207. As for the depth, I honestly think 120 is going to be overkill, so let's go... Let's go 70 and we'll just take it from there. Now, the only thing I need to double check is not only our AI flight path, but also to be able to view the sense... Wait. Hang on a second. Are we meant to be connected to the base to be able to see this? I guess not. Okay. Well, I'm certainly not going to complain about that. Alright. So, just need to quickly confirm that nothing bad's going to happen. Doesn't look like it. In that case, I hereby authorize the Ice Minesweeper to get to work. Alright.
Energy low.
I was kind of hoping that would stay active just a moment longer.
Fuel low.
This isn't good.
Fuel critical.
Well, at least we're not down there and run out of fuel. That's a positive for us. The only sad part is that we have to do a bit of the walk of shame to go and get a refuel on our hydrogen tank. And then we need to recharge our batteries. Alright, so that takes care of the hydrogen tank. Oops. Good thing I spotted this. That could have been a problem. There we go. Alright. So how is the ice one doing? Gathering ice very, very fast, apparently. Alright, let's have a look. Okay, that is a ton of ice. Which means time for us to set up the other event controller. So, first things first, let's just hide all these. Okay, so what I want to have happen is when the stored power is less than 20% for all of these batteries, and to make sure that only kicks in when all of them are meeting the condition, we'll just tick the gate. So what will happen is when all blocks are 20% or more, the hydrogen engines will turn off, but when it is less than 20%, it will turn on. Okay. Okay, good clearance on the solar arrays. That's good. Okay, so that flight line isn't exactly following the path, but honestly speaking, the margin of error isn't that bad. So I am honestly not fussed with that. Okay, and our broadcast controller is still working as intended. And I'm willing to bet that our Ice Minesweeper 2.0 is going to kick in the condition for this event controller soon. Oh well, I'm not really fussed about that. Although, I just had the thought, it would be awesome if I could tell if a drone is in the middle of returning to base. Now the only question is, how could I go about it? So we already know that the PAM script has two conditions for returning. One would be if the load is too heavy, and two, if the cargo limit has been reached. And of course, we do have the other conditions where it's finished its job or it's damaged and returning to base for repairs. I might have to have a bit of a think about it, because it would be good in order to add more life to our world. I'm just not 100% sure how to go about it. I'll have a think about it. because at least for the damage part, we can definitely just use a event controller. But for the other three, I am not so sure, to be honest. Unless I have like a timer block where it says like after, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, just gives me a friendly reminder that a drone has been docked for a excessive amount of time. Please investigate. That might be an option for when it's completed its job. And I just don't notice that it's completed the job. As for the other two, I think I'm going to have to do a programmable block to do the triggering. So it seems like I'm going to have to fire up ChatGPT later and have a bit of a play around with that. Alright, so have our hydrogen engines been turned on yet? Yep. They're humming away nicely. And our tanks are slowly being filled up. The rate isn't bad, considering that it's dealing with 2 tanks, plus the usage of the hydrogen engines. Well, I think I am going to call it a episode. So, what did we accomplish today? Well, we managed to get our printer up and running in order to build a new Minesweeper 2.0 for us to get ice. We also added a little more life to our world, essentially in the form of communication messages. And most important of all, we have our hydrogen power room up and running beautifully. Now, the real question is, how much ice did we actually get? Let's have a look. Okay, more than enough to keep us sustained. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to take long for this drone to fly off for its next load of ice. Yep. Doesn't look like it will take long at all. So I think off camera I'm going to have to add some extra storage just in case it gives me a bit of a surprise and gives me more ice than what I can store. So, thank you very much for watching. If you are not yet subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. Like, dislike at your own leisure. Comments, feedback, suggestions are more than welcome down the comments below. Until the next upload, this is Assassin Gamer, signing off.